Today's lesson is called The Separation of Rangi and Papa. Hello everyone, my name is Jeff.
And I'm Roger, and today we're going to continue talking about our traditional story from New Zealand here, or from the South Pacific. And it's all about the separation of Rangi and Papa. Remember, Papa is the Earth Mother, and Rangi is the Sky Father. Remember last time, Tu, the god of war, wanted to kill the parents, and Tane just simply wanted to push them apart. Although they would be apart, but at least there'd be some light there. So yeah, what's the better plan? I'll let you all decide that. But we're going to continue talking about our story. Let's dig in now and find out what happens next in the first part of our lesson.
After much deliberation, the brothers agreed with Tane, except for Teferi, who became furious at the idea of separating their parents and severing their bond. He wanted nothing to do with their plan, yet the other brothers decided to go forward with it regardless.
各位好，第一部分我们看到名词 deliberation 指慎重考虑、仔细思考。例如 Luna decided not to attend the dance club after long deliberation. Luna 经过长时间考虑之后，决定不参加舞蹈社。另外补充这个字的形容词 deliberate。deliberate deliberate 指深思熟虑的、审慎的。我们可以说 Harriet's deliberate and precise word choice made her writing incredibly effective. Harriet 谨慎精准的用字让她的文字十分有力。接着我们看到单字 sever 这个字是动词，指切开、割断，像是 The woman severed all relations with her former husband. 那个女人切断和前夫相关的所有人际关系，或是 Oren severed the rope with a knife. Oren 用刀子割断绳索。
Okay, everyone, let's keep reading from our creation story, our creation myth from the South Pacific. So, we've got a plan. Okay, these gods, these 6 sons there, they're going to push their parents apart, and they are going to create the earth and the sky as we know them. Why? Because they want to know the light. Let's see if their plan works by reading on. Now, after much deliberation, our story continues. The brothers agreed with Tane, except for Teferi, who became furious at the idea of separating their parents and severing their bond. So there you go. They talked about this for a while. They argued a little bit. They discussed things. They debated things. They deliberated, or you could say there was much deliberation. So after much talk, after much deliberation, all the brothers said, Tane, you've got a good idea there. Tu's idea, okay, his plan was too extreme, but your idea, it's good. So all the brothers said that, except for Teferi, who said, I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. You want to separate our parents? Who do you think you are? This is terrible. How dare you? And then he got mad. Then he got angry. Then he went into a rage. He got furious. Yes, if you become furious, you become extremely angry. Oh, you might fly off into a rage. Who knows? All bets are off when you become furious.
Yes, Teferi became furious, very angry at the thought of separating their parents, and he was also extremely angry at the thought of severing their bond. So here we've got the verb to sever, which means to cut something down the middle and separate it into 2 or more parts. So yes, he was mad that they wanted to cut off their relationship, to sever sever their bond. The bond, of course, is the connection between them. They are husband and wife, so they're married, and that is their bond together. Or maybe their embrace is actually their bond. And that's just a horrible thing to do. They're romantically in love. You just don't do that to people who are so much in love with each other.
And Teferi here, he's super angry at the idea of separating their parents. He thinks that this is ridiculous. He wanted nothing to do with their plan, yet the other brothers decided to go forward with it regardless. So even though Teferi had his issues, even though he objected, they were going to do it no matter what. And that's what the word regardless tells us here, okay? Here, they're going to do this no matter what. Teferi's got his problems with things. Too bad, we're doing it anyways. Yes, that's what the word regardless is telling us.
Yeah, regardless of what you think. It doesn't matter what you think. We're going to go forward with this plan anyway. Okay, the story continues in the next part of our lesson. Let's listen.
Rongo stood up and tried to push their parents apart, but he was too weak to break their grip. Next was Tangaroa, who tried as hard as he could, but to no avail. Homia also tried, as did Tu. Both attempts were in vain, and it seemed that their mother and father would never relinquish their grip. Only Tane was left, and after struggling for a while, he stopped, lay down with his back on his mother, placed his feet against the sky, and used his powerful legs to thrust against his father.
第二部分我们看到名词 grip 指控制紧握。举例来说 A good public speaker knows how to keep a solid grip on his audience. 一位厉害的公众演说家知道如何完美掌握他的观众。或是 The rock climber lost his grip and almost fell off the cliff. 那名攀岩者不小心松开手，差点跌落悬崖。另外，这个字还可以当动词，指紧握、抓牢。例如The frightened child gripped his mother's hand very tightly. 那名害怕的孩子紧紧握住他妈妈的手。再补充几个相关片语。第一 ，in the grips of 表示在点点点的笼罩中。举例来说 ，The earthquake struck when the city was in the grips of a typhoon. 台风暴风圈笼罩这座城市时，又发生了地震。第二 ，come or get to grips with something 表示接受、了解。我们可以说。Phil never came to grips with his divorce. Phil 对离婚一直无法释怀。第三 lose one's grip on something 表示失去对某事的理解或控制，驾驭不住。像是 Doris lost her grip on her emotions when she learned of her grandmother's death. Doris 得知祖母过世时，情绪失控崩溃。再来，我们看到片语 to no avail 表示徒劳无功，白费力气。例如The thief tried to sneak in through the window, but to no avail. 小偷试图从窗户潜入，但徒劳无功。再来，我们看到单字 relinquish 这个字是动词，表示松手、放开、放弃权力或控制。例如 After retiring, the founder relinquished control of his company to his daughter. 那名创办人退休之后，将公司的掌控权交给他女儿。
Teferi, we love you, pal, but we've got to see the light, so we are going to go forward with Tane's plan. Now, Ranyo, it says, stood up and tried to push their parents apart, but he was too weak to break their grip. So there you go. They were in that embrace. They were holding each other tightly, grasping each other tightly, gripping each other tightly, and Ranyo, he just couldn't do it. He was too weak to break their grip. Yes, if you have a grip on something, you have a hold of that thing. You have that thing in your hand and you're holding onto it securely. You're clutching onto it. You have that thing in your grasp.
Yeah, so here grip is being used as a noun, but it could also be used as a verb. But as a noun, it just refers to how you hold onto something. If you're a drummer, for example, you might need to make the decision on which grip to use, how you grip the sticks. Are you going to use the traditional grip where you hold it at a 45-degree angle with your left hand and then straight up and down with your right? Or are you going to use the matched grip, where each hand holds the stick in the same fashion? Now, next was Tangaroa, who tried as hard as he could, but to no avail. Remember, Tangaroa is the god of the sea and of fish. And because he's the god of the sea and fish, he was probably handling fish too much. And you know, fish are kind of slimy, so his hands were probably kind of sticky and slimy and stuff like that. So he failed to separate them. He tried to no avail, which means he totally failed.
So Ranyo has failed, and also Tangaroa. They've both failed to separate their parents at this particular point. Now, Homia also tried, as did Tu. Both attempts were in vain, okay? Both of them failed as well, and it seemed that their mother and father would never relinquish their grip, i.e., they were never going to give each other up, okay? They were going to hold on for dear life and never let go. Yes, if you relinquish something, you let that thing go, so to speak, or you maybe even give something back. But here, basically, we're saying that this constant state of embrace, well, it hasn't changed a bit.
Right. For example, many years ago, I worked at a company and I was a manager and I made a lot of money, but I thought, hey, I'm making too much money here. I don't want to be so rich. So I relinquished my position. I quit my position and gave it to somebody else. And then I started working in the mail room. But in this particular case, though, yeah, they would not relinquish their grip. They just kept holding on to each other. And then we have Tane. Remember, Tane is the god of forests, and he was the only one left. And after struggling for a while, he stopped, lay down with his back on his mother, placed his feet against the sky, and used his powerful legs to thrust against his father. That may have been very smart here, because a lot of times we think we can do things with our arms, but actually when we use our legs, they probably are going to be much more powerful. That's why people who ride bicycles have really strong legs. So in this particular case, he decided to use his powerful legs to thrust against his father. And thrust here is a verb, and it just refers to pushing something really, really violently or really hard.
With a whole lot of force. So there you go. He used his powerful legs to thrust against his father. I wonder if he was successful in separating his father and mother. We'll learn about that soon. Right after, that is, we take a break.
As the parents' embrace began to weaken, they cried out in distress, begging their son not to tear them apart. Tane, however, ignored them and kept pushing until the Sky Father was high above him and light began to fill the world. Today, the couple's mourning can be witnessed in the rain, which is said to be the tears of Rangi, and in the mist, which arises whenever Papa sighs with longing for her lost lover.
最后第三部分，我们看到名词 mourning 指悲痛、哀悼，像是 Millions of fans were in mourning after the rock star passed away. 那位摇滚巨星过世后，数百万名粉丝都在悼念他。
Okay, we're now in the third and final portion of our story. We've got the 6 brothers trying to separate the parents, except for, let's see, Tafiri. Yeah, he was against the plan. He thought it was pretty low class to try to separate their embrace like that. But the other brothers decided to go ahead with the plan regardless, without Tafiri. And so they all tried, and only Tane was successful. Tane was able to separate them using his legs. He thrust against his father. And here in the third part it says, as the parents' embrace began to weaken, they cried out in distress, begging their son not to tear them apart. So the parents knew what was going on here. Hey, somebody's trying to separate us. So their embrace got weaker. It began to weaken, and then they cried out in distress, no, help us! Don't let us separate. We are deeply in love with each other, and we want to hold each other forever and forever, and you're separating us. What are we going to do if we can't hold each other anymore?
There you go. They cried out in distress. Oh no, they begged their son. They pleaded with them, please don't separate us. Don't tear us apart using force or violence. Please don't do that. Tane, however, ignored them and kept pushing until the Sky Father was high above him and light began to fill the world. So there you go. It sounds like we just created the world as we know it today. Our creation myth is almost complete.
It is, and thanks to Tane, we can see our way home when we get done with work or school. If that were not the case, my goodness, we'd be blind. We'd be bumping into things all the time. The world would be in total chaos. Today, the couple's mourning can be witnessed in the rain, which is said to be the tears of Rangi, and in the mist, which arises whenever Papa sighs with longing for her lost lover. That's kind of interesting. This story explains some natural phenomena that occurs in the world, okay? You can witness their mourning. Mourning is when you're really sad about something and maybe you're crying or yelling out because you're very sad. Oh, I'm so sad that my dog died. I'm in mourning. I loved that dog so much and now it's gone. It got run over by a bus last night, and I'm so sad. You're in mourning there. And, of course, if you witness something, you actually see this thing happening.
Now, usually when you're using this word witness, you're making it clear that you see something specific, like you can witness a crime. Did you see that occur? Yes, I saw that particular event occur. Policeman, if you want me to identify this particular person, I can. I saw him commit the crime. I witnessed him do it. So here it says that, yes, the couple's mourning can be witnessed in the rain. Okay, you can see the fact that they're still sad that they've been separated because, well, there's rain. That's the evidence there that there's some crying going on. They call the rain here the tears of Rani. How about that? How poetic. And it says there's also mist, and that arises whenever Papa, the Earth Mother there, sighs with longing for her lost lover, the Sky Father. How cool. All right, everyone, that's it for our story, and it's time for you guys to hear from the Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第3部分的第一句提到说 As the parents' embrace began to weaken, they cried out in distress. 父母的拥抱开始松开时，他们悲伤的大喊。好，当我们用 in 加上情绪名词的话，就是表达感到怎么样，处于什么样的情绪之中。那么其中的名词呢，大多是用单数，而且前面不加冠词。像文中的 in distress， 悲伤地，处于悲伤之中的意思。其他还有像 in anger 就可以表达愤怒的， in despair 绝望的， in horror 感到害怕， in embarrassment 表示尴尬的等等。那我们在使用 in 加上情绪名词时，它具有副词的功能，我们可以把它摆在句首来修饰整个句子，或者是摆在动词的后面来修饰动词。那我们来造2个例句。第一个例句In despair, the main character killed himself in a hotel room. 感到绝望，那位主角在一间旅馆房间里自我了断。好，这时候我们把 in despair 摆在句首去修饰整个句子。第二个例句 She screamed in excitement. 她兴奋的尖叫。那这时候我们是把 in excitement 摆在动词的后面来修饰这个动词 screamed。好，另外我们也来学习 distress 这个字的字首字根。当我们看到 S-T-R-I-C-T 或是 S-T-R-A-I-N 或是 S-T-R-E-S-S 这一类的字根呢，它有绑、束缚、拉直或是拉紧的语义，带有那种压力啊，达到最极致的那种意思。那在 distress 这个字当中，它的字首 dis 表示分离，它碰到 s 开头的字根呢，它就会变形为 di。好，那么字根 stress 表示拉紧。好， 什么叫分离跟拉紧呢？同学们可以想象一下，当你拥有的东西被强拉走，或是两个相依为命的人，他们手拉得紧紧的，可是被强迫分离，这样是不是会造成痛苦呢？我们用这种方式应该可以联想到 distress 有使什么苦恼、使什么忧伤的意思。那顺便补充几个有这一类字根的单字哦。第一个是 district， 它的字首 dis 表示分开，那么 strict 这部分表示拉紧。那么划分行政区就是分开一区一区的各自管辖、各自管束。同学们应该就可以用这种方式去联想 district， 它有行政区或者是地区区域的意思。第二个补充的是 constrain， constrain。 好，它的字首 con 表示一起，字根 strain 表示拉紧。当我们用绳子把东西绑住，把这个绳子的两端一起拉紧，用这样的画面也许可以联想到 constrain 它有束缚啊、限制的意思。第三个补充的是 restrain， restrain。 好，它的字首 re 表示 back， 就是向后往后，那么字根 strain 表示拉紧。我们用绳子在牵狗狗的时候，如果它看到东西很激动要往前冲，这时候我们是会把这个绳子向后拉紧，让狗狗不要冲出去。我们用这样的画面去联想说 restrain 它有克制、抑制或是压抑的意思。第四个补充的是 stringent， stringent。 好，它的字根 string 这个部分呢，表示紧或是束缚，那么 ent 是形容词字尾。那被束缚、被绑得紧紧的，应该可以联想到它有那种很严格、很严厉的意思。那 stringent 这个字可以用来形容法规啊，或是管控等等，它是很严格的。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Furious. Cindy was furious when she discovered that her daughter had lied to her. Bond. Traveling with your partner can help strengthen the bond between you. Regardless. The weather was terrible, but we went ahead with the camping trip regardless. Grip. She loosened her grip on the tennis racket and let it fall to the ground. Thrust. James thrust the people in the audience aside and made his way to the front of the stage. Distress. Seeing Noah's distress, Lydia felt the urge to comfort him. Witness. The police are asking anyone who witnessed the crime to come forward.
Discussion starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today. The story of the separation of Rangi and Papa is known as a creation myth, and these stories can be found in many different cultures. Do you know any other creation myths? If not, what do you think of the son's act of separating Rangi and Papa? Was it justified?
Oh, a similar creation myth that I know of is in the Bible. It's in Genesis when God created the earth and the universe in 7 days. And I believe that one of the interesting and mysterious things in this particular creation myth is that during one of these days, God actually rested.
Yeah, he was pretty tired there, so he did need to have a little bit of a siesta. But for me, I'd like to answer the second part of this question. Do I think separating the parents there was justified? Should that have been done? And I think, well, it's a sad story. Yes, they can no longer embrace, but it had to be done. Sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. If he had not done that, hey, we'd be living in darkness. So we have that sun to thank for the light that we can now enjoy.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you guys enjoyed reading and learning along with us. I am Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.